And it's all about the Black Stars. You can see us rocking our jerseys. Yes, you'll see Mapitso Sebidi shortly. But time now for the news review. And we'll be joined shortly by Samuel Bing of the Parliamentary Network Africa. In fact, I can see him right now. But before I go to Samuel Bing, Mapitso, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Benjamin. How are you doing?
We're in the spirit today. We're in the Ghanaian spirit.
Yeah, and we're very excited. We are hopeful. It's going to be a very interesting day today. The budgets, the Black Stars.
A bird whispered to me that some people in some quarters and intentionally suggested that the budget should be on this day so that the Black Stars thing would drown
the
budget statement a bit. You know, usually when the budget statement is put forth, all the attention is on that. Pretty smart move, but budget's in India. Whether the Black Stars play, they don't play, they win, they don't win, they draw, Charlie. We'll have to get into that because pocket la hot. What is here?
Yeah,
pocket la hot.
Pocket la very hot. Christmas is around the corner.
You can't even smell Christmas.
You can't even smell Christmas. It's so like there's no Christmas spirit.
There's absolutely nothing.
No, but I also think after COVID, right? After 2020, the Christmas and the festive season really died out. Honestly, yeah. I also don't want to put like too much pressure.
I mean, it's not been so, but I know people would often, be nostalgic about the previous year and say this and that, but trust me, this year
things are very hot.
I am pumping.
God day, I'm a child of God.
Oh God day, God day.
So
okay, now who is a child of wine? We are children.
I said I'm a child of God. God is my father. In fact, you know what? I'm God's favorite daughter. So He will not let me suffer in this hot country. Thank you very much for the words so sweet.
Anyway, let me also welcome aboard Samuel Bing. A very good morning to you, Mr. Bing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyway,
good morning.
So before we get into the paper, since we've started off on that trajectory, what would be your expectations as the Black Stars lock horns with the Portuguese today? And maybe your quick thoughts on, I'll reserve the budget for later. The Black Stars, let's do that for now.
Well, as a Ghanaian through and through, I would only wish that we are able to come through victorious. There's been a few upsets at the World Cup, but of course, there's also been many instances of countries who everybody expected to winning emphatically.
Right.
So we know the stature of the Portuguese team. We know how somewhat wobbly our preparation and our team have been over the past, months or years. We know that we are the underdogs of this competition, the lowest ranked, country in the World Cup. But we can only keep the flag of Ghana high and be optimistic that, we'll be able to get a good results.
All right, so let's get into the papers. Let's start with the Ghanaian Times. And the big story, obviously, is the budget and nation hopeful of 2023 budget as Finance Minister presents a statement to Parliament today. We also have the Ashanti Regional Police Command probes alleged killing of nursing mother by military personnel. And WAEC begins probe into 2022 WASI suspected malpractices. And that big one, Ghana in crunch game against Portugal, on page 32. But let's go to page 4, where the nation is hopeful of 2023 budget. The Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, today presented the 2023 budget in Parliament, which has perhaps put majority of Ghanaians on edge for so many reasons, from the current economic hardship leading to high cost of living to the demand from both majority and minority caucuses for the Finance Minister to step down because of the economic downturn. Most Ghanaians are eager to hear what the Finance Minister has to offer. So all eyes will therefore be gazing at the Minister as he presents one of the most expected budgets since the beginning of the country's Fourth Republic. All right, let's also... Okay, so this one is from Minority Leader, who says his disappointment comes on the heels of a U-turn by the majority to support Mr. Ofori-Atta to present the 2023 budget statement and economic policy of government. We do know that they were both majority and minority were meant to boycott that if the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta was the one to present it, but majority has shepherd a U-turn.
Mother party has found a way of, I don't want to say coercing, but whipping their members of parliament in line. It still awaits to be seen, really, what will happen in parliament today. And I also don't know what the stance of the minority, I mean, is in terms of whether they will even show on the floor of parliament. So that's going to be some interesting dimension. But whichever way it is, there is quite an aversion to the finance minister staying at post even now. You recall yesterday when I had a conversation with Dr. Mark Esibe-Yeboah.
Yeah.
He had his own. He didn't want to wade too much into that. But interestingly, he said if he were called upon to serve as finance minister, he would accept.
He would accept.
Yeah.
Well, let's get Mr. Obing's thoughts on this, the budget, majority's U-turn, and what you are expecting to hear today.
Well, the majority's U-turn is not quite surprising, except that it is disappointing. And of course, when they first announced, these majority members of parliament first announced that they, were going to go all out in playing their oversight function and their representational function in ensuring that they are representing the very people who brought them to parliament, who have expressed, worry about the state of the economy. We give them thumbs up for that individual-minded, thinking that they had brought on board. Of course, party has been able to whip them in line. I think that that provides some level of clarity also on how today is going to pan out. We're going to have a day where the minister will come to parliament. We'll have the majority people cheering him up. We'll have the minority people, wielding placards, perhaps booing him. Of course, as part of the gimmicks that goes on in parliament. In the end, the budget will be read. Of course, we expect that have a quorum for the budget to be read. But for me,
just an interjection. Yesterday, in interacting with Dr. Mark Esibe-Yeboah, he disputed the bit about a quorum. He says there's no quorum required for the presentation of the budget in Parliament. That's what he said.
Well, he's right, technically speaking, because the presentation is just a statement being made by the minister. What it means is that at the beginning of the sitting, when the House has been able to form, the minister can come in at any time and make that particular statement. But there will be discussions afterwards. There will be motions that must be adopted afterward. There will be votes afterwards. So it will be at that stage that some of those quorum will be required. But well, let's see how it goes. We look forward to a very exciting day in Parliament. The most important thing is that the people of Ghana must be thought about, and members of Parliament must know that their actions and inactions will send a lot of communication signals to the people of Ghana as to whether they are taking this whole economic situation we find ourselves in seriously or not.
All right, let's also go to page 15, where WAYAC begins probe into the 2022 WASE suspected malpractices. Let's get a quick look at that. So now the West African Examination Council has urged school authorities and candidates who have been invited to its offices to assist with investigations into suspected cases of malpractices. The council said it has commenced investigations into this year's West African Senior Certificate Examinations irregularities detected during and after the examination, and would require a cooperation of both school authorities and students to ensure prompt investigations and resolution of the cases. We also have the Ashanti Regional Command probes alleged killing of nursing mother by military personnel. Let's take a quick look at that story on page 3. They have begun investigations to the killing of a nursing mother allegedly by some military personnel. The deceased Felicia Donko sustained gunshot wounds after being hit by a stray bullet. Assistant Commissioner of Police Kwesi Ano, Deputy Ashanti Regional Police Commander, on Monday visited the crime scene and also visited the deceased family. A police source at the regional command, which is close there, these to the Ghanaian Times, said investigations into the incident had started. Now, they say that it was gathered, so the incident it was gathered took place on Saturday during a funeral of one Kwesi Nkrumah, also known as Simon, who died after falling into a mining pit some 3 months ago. Simon was said to have been chased by some security personnel protecting some mining companies in the area. And the process, he said was hit with a club and he fell into a mining pit. Now, during the funeral on Saturday, the youth in the town were said to have mounted a barrier in the middle of the road leading to the cemetery. Now, when the military got there, there was a misunderstanding between them and the youth, which saw the military firing warning shots and the nursing mother being killed. We also have Labour Africa 4 in court over defilement. But these two stories, WAEC begins probe into the 2022 WASE suspected malpractices, and Ashanti Regional Police Command probes alleged killing of nursing mother by military personnel. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, perhaps I start with the killing of the nursing mother bit. It's very unfortunate story. I really do not understand why our officers who are allowed to, use guns are increasingly becoming trigger happy. I mean, from the story that was read, people are rioting. Yes, we know that riot control, there is a way of doing it. One too many times we come back to discuss how wielding guns, deciding to shoot becomes almost like the first point of call for these security officials who wield guns. And then innocent people end up dying. This is a nursing mother, for crying out loud. And very typical of how we handle matters here. These matters will come into the papers, they'll be discussed in the media a day, 1 week, 2 weeks, and that's the end. We can think about the future of that little child or little children who this nursing mother, have to be taken care of, and the family that is being left behind. These things are really, really unfortunate. And sometimes it makes it very difficult to live in a country like this where your fate, your life, your destiny sometimes is very much not protected because of some of these things going on. It's very, very unfortunate and worrying. The bit about WAEC, one too many times we seem to have these exam malpractices, going on. Of course, examination, especially in a country where we are extremely focused on who passes and who does not pass, and not necessarily about the quality that gets churned out. We have some of these things coming up, but I think that WAEC is an institution that has been doing these things for quite a long time, and by this time we should be having systems and procedures in place to be able to stem out some of these situations. We cannot continue to go on like this.
All right, Benjamin, what do you have in the Daily Graphic?
Well, quite a number of stories. The Daily Graphic talks about profiling Central Tongue tomorrow, but other major stories in there. The activation of SIM cards, court throws out case against NCA. I'll bring you some details of that. Open herbal unit in every government hospital. That's according to Professor Samuel Ato Duncan. He is telling the health ministry that Otto to make life difficult for Portugal. And that is the promise, basically. At least we have some good things to look forward to. We've seen Saudi Arabia down Argentina, shockingly, by 2-1, and the referee with some antics in there, but I was happy when Saudi Arabia won. We've also seen Japan take on Germany and beat them by 2-1. Yesterday, Canada played everything, but simply couldn't get past Belgium, the team that beat them by 1-0. So the signs are there. Can the Black Stars do it? That's what we'll be looking at. Scrap Council of State, Kufuor advocates a second chamber. So let's look at those three stories very quickly and maybe add the sports one, and I'll let you come in, Sammy. So let's start with page, let's start with the main story. Former President John Agyekum Kufuor has advocated the composition of an upper house of parliament to replace the Council of State as part of constitutional reforms to promote good governance and development in the country. He said given the current stage of the country's development and the fact that it had committed itself to democratic governance, the Council of State at the moment is not fit for purpose. That's his quote. Again, he says, I have gone through the 1969, 1979, and the 1992 constitutional periods, and I have come to the conclusion that perhaps what our constitution should have to be able to tamper with the extremes of democracy is not a council of state, but a well-composed second chamber. I think temper with that is the point. And that's what he's been pointing out. So that's the first story. Let's go now to page 16 and get some further thoughts from there. Court throws out case against NCA, and the Accra High Court has dismissed a case which sought to stop the National Communications Authority from deactivating the mobile phone numbers of people who have failed to register their SIM cards with the Ghana card. In its judgment, the court, presided over by Justice Charles Ekobaden, held that the NCA had acted legally and in accordance with the laws that governed its operations. Quote, I am of the firm belief, the justice said, that the applicants have not demonstrated to the satisfaction of this court that in pursuing its objects, the second respondent, that is the NCA, exceeded its powers. And that was the ruling of the court. Let me just add the one on page 20 before we talk football, Samuel Bing. So I'd have you react to these three stories for starters. Now, the president of the Ghana Federation of Traditional Medicine Practitioners Associations, Professor Samuel Ato Duncan, has appealed to the health ministry and, for that matter, the government to increase the number of herbal units in health facilities from the current 55 to cover all government hospitals. Increasing the number, he said, would lead to the expansion of health coverage in the country. What do you make of these three? So, herbal units in every government hospital, according to Professor Ato Duncan, scrap the Council of State, according to former President Kufuor, and the NCA getting through that legal scrape in court. Quick reactions?
Well, President Kufuor has served as president of this country for 8 years. He was in the highest office. You know, he had to work with the Council of State, you know, and he certainly knows, you know, the pros and cons of having a Council of State. This is quite a profound statement to have been made by him. Yes, there are many of us who believe that, you know, the Council of State, as it currently is, and as we have seen its function, and with all the, you know, the issues we find with it, does not seem to be fit for purpose. The thing about having a second chamber, though, and I speak about this because, you know, with my work at Parliamentary Network Africa as a parliamentary development person and having researched a lot into parliament, is also a very interesting conversation to have. It has its own pros and cons. For a country like us, like ours, which you know, has traditions, customs, you know, history. Many countries have usually used their second chamber as a way to get, you know, views and opinions of people that form part of these traditions and customs, chiefs, opinion leaders, and what have you, congregating at that particular level to be able to provide some form of oversight, so to speak, on the first chamber of parliament, whenever it passes laws or makes major decisions, but also to serve as a place that brings, you know, the entire country together, not through Western culture, but, you know, in a way that is uniquely Ghanaian. So yes, that's a consideration. That's a suggestion worth considering. And I think that, you know, it goes to the heart of the need for a holistic constitutional review, you know, for the country. I really do not know why our leaders are pussyfooting so far as this constitutional review thing is concerned, because we all know that our 1992 constitution has gotten to that particular point where, you know, a lot of the things are not really fit for purpose.
Right.
On the bit about herbal medicine in public institutions, sometimes it beats my imagination to wonder why a country that has, you know, traditional medicine, herbal medicine as a source of healing, you know, for many of our health situation, is not promoting that aspect of our health care. And we usually resort to, you know, other forms of medicines, other forms of healthcare to be able to deal with ourselves. I think that it's a call in the right direction. We do not know whether the powers that be would listen, and we do not know what the stumbling block is so far as some of these things are concerned. But I personally believe it's a call in the right direction, of course, putting out the caveat that I'm not a health person, and so maybe I may not be able to understand these dynamics as much as they would.
Well, the point would be that herbal medicine, in fact, most of these other drugs that we have in the system are based on these plants. And of course, there are synthetic elements added. So what are we making of them? That is the question. There's also the court throwing out the case against the NCA. That is if you want to touch on that. But to wrap with sports, Coach Otto says, it's going to be a tough match for Portugal, and it's not going to be easy to beat us, Mapitso. It's going to be a tough match for Portugal, and it's not going to be easy to beat us.
Is this
that's what Otto says.
Ronaldo's Portugal.
Ronaldo's Portugal. You know, they played Nigeria in the last friendly, and they beat Nigeria by 4-0. Leao, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leao, and João Cancelo, all of them playing and beating the Nigerians. And Ronaldo didn't play. He had a stomach upset.
Yeah.
And he didn't play. But I just get the feeling that today we're going to create an upset. I feel we could win this game. At worst, we would lose. Because guess what? There's that element of surprise. You've not really played. You're coming with your big stars and everything. And before, if you go one goal down to Ghana, and if the boys play the way that Otto is telling them to, don't give these people too much respect. I feel that is what happened with Senegal, you know, facing off with the Netherlands. Too much respect. You're the African champions, for crying out loud.
So do your
just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it. And the African sides that have played so far, Morocco has had a draw, Tunisia has had a draw, Cameroon plays today, and Senegal, unfortunate, because they really played against the Netherlands. So we can only wish the Black Stars the very best.
Well, interesting. Ronaldo's Portugal.
Ronaldo's Portugal. I would root for Ronaldo anywhere he plays, especially for Manchester United. Unfortunately, now he's fallen out.
Yeah.
But in this instance, Ghana all the way. Ghana all the way.
Okay, we hope Ghana won't break your hearts.
We won't.
Okay.
We won't.
Okay. I hope so.
We don't dare do so.
But quickly, Business Finder, the AFDB okays $27.9 million grant for Ghana to grow more maize, rice, soybeans, and support poultry value chain. We also have exports and tourism critical to shoring up the CD and not external borrowings. Let's get into that story quickly. Ghana cannot continue to use its external borrowings in US dollars to shore up the CD. Rather, the country must be intentional about boosting exports, enhance tourism, and make it attractive for people to want to come to Ghana to spend their dollars to improve our dollar liquidity. Investment advisor, that is Mr. Michael Kobler, who has said that, according to him, the same billions we borrow internationally can be brought into the country by tourists if we create a destination experience for them, even on a quarterly basis. Mr. Kobler joined calls for a review of the e-levy and suggested more revenue measures for government's consideration, scrap or reduce the e-levy significantly, and empower metropolitan assemblies to revalue all properties using a base index as a policy, initially to raise revenue through the active supervision of the Ghana Revenue Authority. He also feels that we should re-evaluate government flagship projects. He says, he's advising that if planting for food and jobs was really working, we should not be importing tomatoes and onions after 6 years of implementation. We should be net exporters of agriculture. The other one is reviewing the free SHS policy. And the last one, which a lot of people have been talking about, is cut government size. He says we must reduce the size of government dramatically.
I don't suspect that is going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't get the feeling that is going to happen.
Well,
sadly, I don't get the feeling that is going to happen. I mean, sometimes you look at other jurisdictions and the numbers there, far bigger countries, you know, and the number of people managing them. Some may say, oh, maybe their systems have developed a bit more. You have to get there too. What have we been doing in the Fourth Republic?
Yeah.
And with this gargantuan government. You see, I always go back to the point when President Akakpo had just taken off and appointed all these people, one of the highest numbers on the continent and all of that. And the talk was, I am a man in a hurry. I have a lot to do. And so I'm going to push these people in and they're going to do the work. But 6 years down the line,
we're here. Mr. Bing,
have the numbers added up?
Cutting government size, reviewing free SHS policy, re-evaluates government flagship programs, and the last one, scrapping or reducing the e-levy significantly?
Well, Ben, it's not just about your feeling when it comes to the fact that the size of government is not going to be scrapped. It's also about the fact that the one who leads government has actually signaled same. He's not really interested in reducing the size of his government, and sometimes it makes it very, very worrying to realize that sharp economic brains like Michael Kobler that you quoted in that news article, and many others, make so many suggestions, share so many thoughts, think tanks, civil society. And these are the things that you need, especially around this time when our country is in a turmoil, yet nobody seems to listen, and sometimes we stick to our guns. Government sticks to its guns for so long until things get out of hand. Then we get to bear the brunt of some of these decisions. I think that Michael Kobler is certainly one of those, sharp brains that we have here in our country, so far as investment banking, so far as issues of this nature is concerned. And certainly, these comments, these suggestions of his cannot be taken in jest. I do not know the forum at which he made these suggestions, but certainly I'm sure that these were platforms that had people who could listen and act on some of these things in them, and we look forward to them acting. But let me touch quickly on the Otoado bit. I was listening to the quote that has been attributed to him, and could it mean, Mapitso and Benjamin, could it mean also that to say that it would not be easy to beat Ghana, mean that Ghana will be beaten, but it wouldn't be easy? Like the
well, I'm saying it will be difficult to play Portugal, but it will not be easy to beat Ghana.
Yes, so
in other words, he's saying that you are a difficult side, but we are not going to be an easy side for you either.
Well, because some could read the meaning into it as saying, okay, it's going to be a Senegal situation. Yes, we'll play very well, get to the 80th minute, it wouldn't be easy for you, but then in the dying embers, then you'll be able to beat us. So that you beat us, but it wasn't easy. Yeah. I really do not think that is where we want to look at. And for me, I strongly feel that with the current showing by some of the African sides, with the general situation ongoing at the World Cup, and somehow some underdogs have proven, worthy of their calling to the World Cup. I personally think that the day may end, in a shared point situation for Ghana and Portugal. A draw for me will be my prediction.
All right, so that's all I have. Ben, do you have any?
Okay, I'll wrap with the Daily Guide newspaper. Mahama released Achimota forest land to Owu family. That story is on page 3. And embattled finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta is okay, so that's actually a different story. This one, Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Benito Wusubio has revealed that ex-President John Dramani Mahama gave an executive approval for the release of the Achimota forest land to the Owu family, the pre-acquisition owners of the forest reserve. According to him, this followed a recommendation by a committee set up by former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Inusa Fuseni that reviewed the recommendations of the Afaridate committee constituted by the late President John Atta Mills. So it appears this situation is not going anywhere, but topical for me, the blame game and how we love to play it in this country. That story is there. There's also Ofori-Atta presents 2023 budget as MPs freeze a sack campaign. There's also Opuni's referral motion adjourned to December the 1st. But let me wrap with some interesting stories. I'll go back to that recent interaction by the IEA on the back of the 1992 Constitution with former President Kufuor and former Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Professor Mike Oquaye. So, share mineral royalties fairly. That's according to former President Kufuor, who says the devastating impact of illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, in various parts of the country in recent times could be tackled by government if indigenous people in their respective communities were made to have a fair share of mineral royalties. There's also this one, stop fighting each other. Rocky Dawuni to Ghanaian artists. Quick reactions to these stories. So there's the first one. Mahama released Achimota forest land to Owu family. Let's share mineral royalties fairly, according to former President Kufuor, and stop fighting each other. Rocky Dawuni to Ghanaian artiste. Let me just sneak in. Ghana Kids Fashion Festival in December. That is slated for December. Some lovely photos here in the middle spread of the paper of children catwalking. Quick thoughts?
Yeah, the blame game, certainly, negotiating, always. I mean, sometimes you wonder why our leaders do this to us. Somebody is underperforming. Somebody is not doing what the people want him to do as a leader of the country. The people push that person out. The people bring you in to solve the problems of the country. 6 years down the line, many years down the line, we keep referring to that somebody and what that somebody did then that caused us to push him out as the reasons for all of our woes. We can't be living like this. And for me, whenever I hear things like this, it goes to confirm the fact that, whenever a leader says things like this, it is only a confirmation or an acceptance on the part of that leader that I am also not fit for purpose, because the things that you brought me to solve, I am unable to solve, and I'll always blame my predecessor for what he did wrong, for which, you pushed him out. These things must stop. It's becoming one too many. Apart from that, the bit about President Kufuor and the sharing of mineral resources fairly. We know that in countries and in places where, they are blessed with natural resources, gold, whatever mineral resource they have, even oil and what have you, statistics, history, experiences have shown that it becomes a curse to them because there is usually not a way that makes everybody feel a part of it. So some few people, get to benefit and enjoy from it, and the masses do not get to benefit and enjoy from it. And this is the genesis of, having a real situation, terrible situation arising in such places and countries because people feel left behind. So right. Yes, certainly a call in the right direction. President Kufuor is a statesman. I keep referring to the fact that he's led the country for 8 years. From where he sits, it's the case of a proverbial grandfather or grandmother who is sitting on the ground, and some of the things he would see, climbing the tall Iroko tree will not make you, see all of those. But for me, I think that some of these things from our very senior countrymen, statesmen like President Kufuor and co. Should be brought to the bear and should be advised that it's going directly to the people that take major decisions in our country, so they will act upon them, because having this in the news, having this, as mere suggestions really does not change much. Having it embedded in the change situation we want to see is really where we are all aspiring to.
Thank you so much, Sami, for joining us this morning. Mapitso, have you seen the video with the Vice President, showing off some skills?
Well, we did it yesterday. And you said you don't want to comment on it.
I didn't want to. Sami Obeng, have you seen the video?
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right.
Every male in Ghana knows how to play football and knows how to meal. So it's not surprising that the Vice President...
Thank you, Sami Obeng, for joining the conversation. That's our Vice President doing his thing there. And look out for it. It's coming. It's coming.
Bao Messi. Bao Messi. All right, thank you so much.
Sami, were you saying something?
Oh, no. Just to say that, it's unfortunate that, the playing of the football had, dwarfed the message that he actually had to put across. The picture had dwarfed the message. I think that the message was also very, very, very important. And the Vice President wanted to exhibit the message with some, action. Rather, we are seeing too many Photoshop designs here and there on meetings and what have you. I think we should focus on the message, really. The Vice President, like any male Ghanaian, was exhibiting his football skills, which is very usual.
So was it Bawu Message or Bawu Messi? Which one? Anyway. we'll find out. Sammy, thank you so much. Here's with the Parliamentary Network Africa. Mapitso, have you had a drink this morning?
Have I had a drink? I did. I had water because water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions, 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags. We also have 750 ml for the heavy drinkers and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We have also introduced our special 19-liter jar for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Come on, grab a bottle of Awake Water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center and is produced by Casa Preco. For bulk purchase, you can please call 026 235 1251. This advert is FDA approved.
And right before we get into sports, buy 3 months or 12 months of HD Plus subscription on your HD Plus decoder this football season and dial *844*8# to enter the HD or Recordo Double promo. There are 1,700 rewards to be won, including trips for 3 couples to Dubai in December, 65-inch TVs, household appliances, and more. This promo is valid from now till the 5th of December 2022, and the most loved and exciting kids cooking show, of course, on Joy Prime, Big Chef, is finally coming to an end as we journey to the finale. Contestants have displayed their exceptional culinary skills in the last 11 weeks of the competition. We started with 14, and now we are down to the big 6. Adjoa, Amma, Eudalia, Aram, Prince, and Laura. So you can vote for your favorite by dialing *711*60# and follow the prompt. Who wins Big Chef Season 2? Remember, your vote makes 40%. So vote as many times as you can and catch the grand finale of Big Chef on Sunday, 4th December 2022 at 5 p.m. on Joy Prime. Big Chef is kindly brought to you by Fortune Rice, Fried Oil, Sunflower Oil, Indomie, Top Choco, Floratis Use, Low Price Master, Sankofa Natural Spices, City Black Tonic, and Perk Biscuits.
All right, that's it for the newspaper review. Up next is sports with Abigail Sena Sosu, so stay tuned.